So victory formation here. How does the NFL fix the Rooney Rule? And I'm going to give my personal opinion on this. I do have a lot of experience when it comes to monitoring, minority hires and things like that. It's actually what I do currently for my job now. I'm in charge of kind of putting together a game plan for stuff like that and just monitoring applicants and that type of data to see, hey, where are we at with diversity. So the only way you're going to be able to have teams implement and follow the Rooney Rule is if there's a reward for this, not a penalty. If there's a reward, so not much teams are going. So you want a reward that's not too much to where the teams are going to make irrational decisions just to fulfill a rule, but you don't want it to be too less to where they're like, oh well, screw that. We'll take that on the chin and keep it moving. You want it somewhere in that middle ground, kind of like, they actually have to think about, who was the best candidate. It's hard to say, who was the best candidate and hire, with the intention of the whole league trying to increase minority, hires. Because most people say, oh, well, if they determine, the white candidate or somebody else to be the best candidate, then what is the problem with that? So that's not the problem. So the problem is when you have minority candidates going against, let's say white candidates and the hiring manager is white. Again, this is just my personal opinion. It's not attached to any company, especially the company that I work for, but this is just my personal opinion. So when you have a hiring manager and let's say if a hiring manager is black and you have two candidates, one is black and the other one is another race, let's say that. Most candidates have a similar skill set, similar resume, to where they're both probably able to do the job. Let's just say that. Outside of that, the next deciding factor is the comfortability. So you're more comfortable with people that have a lot more in common with you. So as a black hiring manager, if two people are the same, now I'm looking at, okay, well, how do I separate them? Okay, well, this person has more in common with me and I feel more comfortable with them. So let me hire them because, the skill levels are right around the same. This is things that people don't think of when it comes to, again, hiring minorities. When there's not many minorities at the top, it's hard to, build that pipeline of minorities to move up because getting a spot in general is hard enough as is. So things like the Rooney Rule are supposed to help, but really it's hurting a lot of the minority coaches. So in my recommendation for the NFL, you have to have a reward. You can have a penalty. I mean, you could have a penalty, but you really want to reward teams for, taking a stand and giving guys a chance. So when it comes to rewards, I'm thinking Super Bowl location consideration. So, hey, Cleveland Browns, you hired, XYZ, maybe we'll change the Super Bowl into a lottery and you'll get an extra ball in the lottery for the Super Bowl consideration. Draft location, again, similar to the Super Bowl location consideration. Again, switch that up to a lottery format. Hey, you hired, X amount of minority candidates. We'll add X amount of lottery balls to the draft location lottery, to where you'll be able to host that. It'll bring up it'll help the local economy in your area, and obviously, you'll be able to host some things at your whatever location. NFL Combine. Now I know there's a strict contract with Lucas Oil Stadium, who host it every year in Indianapolis. I think once that runs out, I think, hey, NFL says, hey, you hired X amount, we'll add again a lottery system. You get an extra ball for doing XYZ. And again, an extra ball is not going to be the end of the world for other teams that don't have it. But again, you have to come up with some type of scale to reward teams and at least think like, okay, well, hey, we might be able to, the skill level's the same. We might be able to give this guy a chance. He might be, able to do the job just as well as anyone else. And plus, we get consideration for XYZ events, which will help us as well. Bonus salary cap. This one is probably going to be a hard one to pass, especially, I can see how people will say it's unfair. Like, hey, you hired a minority coach. Why would you get more salary cap? That's putting you at an advantage over other coaches. Again, these are just ideas that they could potentially do. Maybe a non-significant amount of salary cap. Again, that's just an idea. Bonuses for GMs or coaches. So, if they hire a assistant coach that's a minority, maybe throw them, a small bonus for the GM if they hit a certain amount. If they're hiring a certain amount, maybe have a goal, like a percentage. Hey, you hired 10 people in the organization, at least, 25% or something like that needs to be a minority. And then, we'll give you, some type of bonus to the organization, whether it be to the GMs, coaches, front office, directly, or to the organization in general. And then lastly, a bonus on advertisements paid by the NFL. So if you hire a minority coach, maybe, hey, we give you, more airtime during a NFL commercial, get your team out there more. So Cincinnati hired a, minority receiver coach. Hey, we'll give you a little bit more, FaceTime on advertisements in the NFL. Now, NFL is going to advertise, all of their teams are going to advertise their product. But as you know, the NFL likes to push out their higher, revenue teams that, get, that's how they set the primetime games is, the teams that people like to watch. So if you have, teams like Cincinnati or the Browns who don't have like great viewership, or the Raiders who don't have great attendance, putting them in some additional advertisements, trying to build them up a little bit more, that might be beneficial. They're probably doing that already, but a little more won't help, or won't hurt. Sorry. And again, moving towards a reward system, I think would be beneficial. Again, these are just ideas. All of them, they're not perfect, but I think the location consideration for like Super Bowl, draft, combine, I think that is not giving any team any advantage, but it also is, there is some incentive for them to want to hold those type of events at their location, at their venue. Again, that brings more money to them and their organization, or more, happiness to their fan base or local economy. So again, I think those would be some great ideas for that. Hopefully the NFL is listening to this. If you guys are, I'm willing to provide my ideas, but they're going to cost some money. But yeah, what do you guys think about the Rooney Rule and the changes to the Rooney Rule? How do you think the Rooney Rule should be, and how do you think you can enforce teams in taking the Rooney Rule seriously? Hit that comment section below. If you guys are watching on YouTube, I want to hear what you guys have to say. For those of you that are listening on the podcast, the audio only, I want to hear what you have to say as well. So again, tweet me at the Chuck Rule on Twitter on what you think about the Rooney Rule and how we could fix the Rooney Rule. But again, I just want to take this time again to thank everyone who's been listening to the podcast. Again, on podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and a whole bunch more. And then those that you are on YouTube that are following and supporting the channel, it means a lot to me. I continue to put out as much content as possible, definitely weekly for all of you that are listening to the audio only version. But on the YouTube version, that a lot of you that are watching right now know, I post a lot of content throughout the week, at least from Thursday to Sunday. I try to put at least 1 or 2 videos a day from Thursday to Sunday. So again, I appreciate all your support. We are continuing to grow. This is a great thing. This podcast wouldn't be anything without you guys listening. And, I'm very grateful for that. So Hopefully you guys are staying safe out there. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of the week. Have a great weekend. Have fun. And always remember that action turns knowledge into power. And I'll see you guys next episode. Peace. Thanks for stopping by. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button for more fire sports takes. And for those of you who are on the go, make sure you subscribe to our full show, which airs every Thursday on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and a bunch more. Until then, I'm chucking it up, and I'll see you guys next time.